I'm going to be talking about Amoeba Music, which is yet another Los Angeles institution that happens to be a transplant. Amoeba Music starts in the Bay Area, Berkeley to be exact, on Telegraph Avenue.
Have you been to that one?
Yeah, I've been to all of them.
Oh, well, me too, but I didn't want to brag. Hang on. Siri, buy me a ticket to Berkeley.
Buy me first class ticket to Berkeley. I don't care how long the flight is. Oh, it's 20 minutes. Okay, fine. Amoeba Music starts in the Bay Area, Berkeley to be exact, Telegraph Avenue. I said that already.
I've been there.
I've been there my whole life. It was opened in 1990 by three guys and a lady. Mark Weinstein, Mike Boyder, Dave Prinz, and later Karen Pearson. Most of the information I found about the owner seemed to concentrate on Mark Weinstein, so a few words on him. Weinstein hails from Buffalo, New York, and from an early age was already working in record shops, starting at a place called Record Theater as an 8-track buyer, which is what? In 1979, he moved west to San Francisco, and at the end of the hippie era and the beginning of the West Coast punk era, he found himself working for what seems like a couple different record shops. He worked at Streetlight Records, but in Berkeley fell in with a couple friends, that's Boyder and Prinz, at Rasputin Records, which never closed, but it was stabbed, shot, castrated, beheaded, and drowned 6 times. In an interview with San Francisco Chronicle, they were asked why they chose the name Amoeba, and Mark Weinstein says, "We wanted to name our company something music." Yeah. The word Amoeba came up because it sounded good with music. We wanted it to be like a psychedelic kind of name that students would relate to. As it turned out, it's a great name for who we are and what we do. First of all, Amoeba split into two. We'll get to that. And there's an amorphous nature to music.
And it infected other stores.
Yeah.
I get it.
Little did they know it would fulfill itself. And the name has a great quality of being like a metaphor for music, our growth, and who we are, which is pretty cool. The first Amoeba had plenty of competition with 5 other record shops already on Telegraph when they opened, but the guys persisted anyways, taking over a 3,500 square foot location that was formerly a Mexican restaurant. They later expanded that square footage to 12,000 square feet. They opened with 6,000 records and apparently made $10,000 in sales on their grand opening, which is crazy.
Wait a minute. How could they make $10,000 selling 6,000? Well, yeah, I guess they're not selling for $1 each.
Probably not.
Well, then I'm not shopping there.
One record was $9,000.
Why would I buy a $1 record from Amoeba when I can go to Russia
and download a full vinyl? No questions. I just have to leave my screen on all night.
My parents can't call their parents because I'm downloading the latest Coldplay.
They can't call the hospital where my grandpa's at. So they had a great selection of hard to find things, and they were a used record store, so they could find some things cheap, and you could sadly drag a box of old records when you needed gas money. So it became like a hangout, like a music hangout. Mm-hmm. People were selling records, people were buying records, it was like another music hangout. It became so popular that in 1997, Prinz, Weinstein, and Boyder, and now Karen Pearson, opened up a second, even bigger location. The San Francisco Amoeba lied at the end of historic Haight-Ashbury near Golden Gate Park and took over the location of an old bowling alley, which is Park Bowl. This meant the store was vast and wide open, taking up 24,000 square feet. That's my favorite one. It's the San Francisco
and slippery
one.
As hell.
You need special shoes if you want to walk around the DVD section. The store became ever more popular, saw more foot traffic because it's at Haight-Ashbury, and it became like a bigger
and we do mean
spot.
Feet. Ugh, disgusting hippies.
It was an even bigger hangout spot because of its location, because of it was a bigger store. They had harder to find things there. I've been to that one. That was my favorite. It's pretty cool. But a weird
I've been there too. Yeah, I did heroin there.
I bought weird stuff from a guy at McDonald's. I think I went to both Amoebas in one trip, and then when we came back, we went to San Francisco one day. It was miserable. The second day we did the second Amoeba in Berkeley, and then we drove back down to LA, and on purpose, 50 minutes before it closed, we went to Hollywood, so we went to all 3 Amoebas in one weekend. Why? Probably bought one thing. But a weird thing began to happen at the Bay Area Amoebas. They started getting visited by more and more Southern Californians, who either made Amoeba part of their tourist trip, or was the entire reason for their trip up north. And with more and more frequency, the founders were being asked...
These obsessively compulsive weirdos.
And with more and more frequency, the founders were being asked, would there ever be an Amoeba in the Southland? The answer came in early 2001 when it was announced in full-page ads in our local papers.
America attacked.
A day that lives... That's it. The biggest and the best indie record store coming to LA. The highest prices paid ever for good collections. We have over $1 million to spend. We are only buying now. The faster you get us your stuff, the faster we will open.
You should have saved some of that money.
I've taken the best records there, and they're like, nah.
I'll give you a pin.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let you park for free.
The only money I've gotten from them was when I returned something.
When I asked for my change. Yeah. The founders purchased half of a block on Sunset and Cahuenga next to the Cinerama Dome, which, from what I can tell, used to be a warehouse. Not the spot, not Cinerama Dome.
Warehouse Records?
Yeah, it was probably a warehouse. I think it was a warehouse. So they would visit and were scouting a place to open it. And they were kind of...
It's so weird that, like, for all of these, like, Tower Records opened up 5 years before Wallach's closed.
Yeah.
And this place opened up 5 years before Tower Records closed.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. The Angel of Death is coming.
They were scouting for a location, and they wanted to open up in Santa Monica, and people were pointing them in the direction of Hollywood, say, don't open in Santa Monica, nobody will ever go. People were telling them, no, you got to open up in Hollywood because that's one of the 3 centers of the city.
Yeah, you like homeless people. You're from the Bay Area.
You like skeezy Jack in the Box, right? Open up right here. Every single time, I'm like, oh, is someone always getting arrested here? Talking to locals, they found out that Hollywood Boulevard was for tourists and drug addicts, and Sunset Boulevard was for locals and drug addicts.
Local drug addicts.
Amoeba Hollywood would be the biggest of the stores. The vast Amoeba San Francisco being only a fourth of what ours is. Amoeba Hollywood occupies 28,000 square feet just for retail items, and another 15,000 square feet for their storage and offices. To open with, the founders purchased 150,000 new CDs, 350,000 used CDs, and 200,000 used LPs of a wide variety of genres. To stock up the used items, they scoured the country for the best finds. Overall, they spent $2 million in the LA area alone on stock, and another 500,000 around the rest of the country. They're buying up people's entire private collections of jazz LPs and another 200,000 items from a former DJ in Hawaii. They bought the entire stock of a punk record shop in Illinois, along with their posters for exploitation movies. Like, they were just buying entire stores.
They are amoebas. They're absorbing everything around them.
Amoeba Hollywood is 2 stories. There's a giant bottom floor for music and of so many genres, used and new. LPs are down there, cassette tapes. Later, they would add books and band merch. The walls are covered in posters of movies and bands and just general hip people things. There's a back area with
Picture
like
of a
jazz.
knife.
The guy outside of the Walgreens that used to be Wallach's, who just said daggers to me, I was walking by, loves that poster. And they built a stage for live acts and guests for signings, as by this time all Amoebas would accommodate a space to have an event space. The second floor would house movies, DVDs, Laserdisc, and VHS.
Yeah, that's where I saw Wes Anderson.
That's where you saw Wes Anderson.
I can't remember. I've seen one concert there.
Oh, yeah?
I can't remember. They don't move like all of the shelving.
No. So you stand in the...
Yeah, you're like in the middle. In
yeah,
the
you're
shelving.
like listening to a band and you're like, oh, I didn't know they had this City Opera CD.
Brilliant marketing. Brilliant.
They know what they're doing. Opening day for Amoeba was in November of 2001, and there was a huge line of hundreds of people waiting for hours to get in to snag their original run LP of Jefferson Starship. By the time it opened, people were so eagerly waiting over Amoeba that, there was hundreds of people outside.
That's weird, because like that's the time when everyone was downloading their music online.
Yeah.
Why are they suddenly interested in buying music? And
I think at the time, not everything was online.
No, but Tower Records was certainly suffering from being online. But I guess Tower Records was so expensive compared to Amoeba, where I could get this used.
I went to Tower Records all the time. I can count on my one hand how many times I bought something.
I mean, you're talking about, like, we talked about Target and that. I remember when the year was when I was interested in buying physical CDs, but it would be like $25 for the, like, it was crazy prices.
Can you imagine someone selling a CD now for $25? I would
take my money.
Amoeba will sell.
This better be signed by all the Beatles.
Amoeba will sell something for like $15, but it'll be like, I can't find this on the internet.
That's exactly the things I've gotten at Amoeba are things I can't find on the internet or movies that like I don't know where to stream this.
That's the thing that helped me survive. I didn't write this down, so I'm just speaking off the top of my head. Is that they found those pockets of such specific specialty stuff that like I had heard about this on the internet. Nobody, like I had like maybe 2 songs off this record of Del Shannon covering Hank Williams, and now it's all here. And even Spotify, like I just don't like Spotify. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I didn't like Pandora. iTunes has saved me a couple times, but like honestly, like I would rather buy a physical CD than buy an entire album off iTunes because I want the physical object still.
I'm halfway between the physical people and the streaming people because I want everything on my iPod, which I still listen to my iPod, not iPhone, iPod. It's physically on my iPod, but
which I
it's
carry
still
around.
This
is a bulge in my pocket that women are sweaty whenever I come near them.
Is that an iPod in your pocket? Yes. Classic.
The wheel spinning, actually. There's music playing I shouldn't be. Yeah, no, I'll get CDs from the library and burn them immediately and then take them back to the library because I want both.
I get books from the library and I burn them immediately.
And Ray Bradbury comes and shakes my hand and then I have to give him a ride home. So Amoeba obviously became a popular store and only grew from there, attracting all kinds of music fans from all genres, all types of buyers. Amoeba allowed people to become music fanatics because this store had such a wide variety of hard-to-find things that no big chain could possibly have. Tower, Sam Goody, Best Buy, Virgin Megastores, they didn't have these albums that Amoeba carried. And they had some items used that prices big stores could not match. Part of the big draw was that while big music stores concentrated on and stocked what was popular of every genre, Amoeba stocked everything, and they promoted everything. Popular stuff was advertised right next to up-and-coming good stuff that you've never heard of, and they promoted the same way. They're given the same value on the shelves and everything. No emphasis on either. Little bands appreciated more, so it seemed like every little band had a chance to be promoted by this huge music store in the center of one of the biggest cities in the world. Amoeba had become as much of a hangout and a tourist spot. Like, I've taken visitors to Amoeba based on their request. They come and they're like, well, we're going to go to Hollywood. Can we stop by Amoeba? I'm like, yeah, you have to buy something. But yeah.
For me,
sure. Pay tribute. The collection is insane, but the atmosphere, this like airplane hangar filled with hard-to-find items, is stunning. The live performances there are also a reason that Amoeba has gained the kind of hip notoriety.
It's pretty crazy. Like, Paul McCartney played there. Speaking of,
we'll get to. Well, all I say is that he played there. Like I was saying, the stage was less for top of the charts performers and more for hot and upcoming artists with talent,
like Paul McCartney,
who's an up and coming artist. And one day you're gonna hear about this Paul McCartney guy. He was with this other band for a while, but you heard about George Harrison? They're friends. These two are friends.
They grew up together
in like Livertown. What's it called?
In Liver Swamp.
So yeah, they had like up and coming bands with talent, but also they had renowned bands and performers that had reached the highest point of their subgenre and were idolized by the few who loved them but never hit the charts, which is way more important because Amoeba now exists in the same realm as the Troubadour, the Palladium, the Roxy, the Whiskey, blah blah blah. They're still like, Amoeba is part of that whole thing. The way Wallach's was part of that scene, the way Tower was part of that scene.
Concerts are free there, right?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
I mean, you can't fit that many people in.
And how are you going to kick people out that are already in there and make them pay? So yeah, I'm pretty sure that the biggest performances, let's get to that. Lana Del Rey performed there in 2012. One of my favorite bands.
She was in the Beatles.
You know that she was Pete Best. One of my favorite bands, Yola Tango, did a show there. The punk band Death played at Amoeba, which was the one that had the documentary about them. Gary Newman, Wanda Jackson, Big Sandy, the Fly Right Boys. Maybe the biggest name to step on the Amoeba stage was a former Beatle, like you said, Paul McCartney.
Who?
That happened in 2007, and he even released a live recording of that album.
Really?
Yeah. My two personal experiences, you want to hear about them?
Yeah.
The Violent Femmes, which is one of my favorite bands. And I got all my friends from high school to go with me. We packed a car. I drove everybody. There was a huge line out the door.
Yeah.
I let everybody off to find parking. It took me 30 minutes to find parking. I came back and they wouldn't let me inside. So I watched the Violent Femmes from outside without being able to hear them.
Quintessential Greg.
Yep.
Quintessential Greg experience.
Here's the other one. Me and Ed went there because Patton Oswalt was going to perform there midday in the weekend.
Yeah, I remember this.
And I was right up front. We got there like 40 minutes early, and I was like, I got to see Patton Oswalt. I love everything about Patton Oswalt. And people start to come around me, and there's clapping, and Patton Oswalt comes out, and just at that moment, I get lightheaded, and I think I'm going to throw up. So I have to walk all the way to the back of Amoeba, which is the front of the store, and I have to take my socks off and like fan myself because I thought I was going to pass out.
And you were walking around the neighborhood yelling daggers.
Same thing happened at Oh Hello, but I'm not going to get into that because we're not doing an episode about UCB. Anyways,
I saw Glenn Hansard and the people from Once.
Oh, okay.
I saw them perform.
Okay, that's a pretty good show.
Yeah. And I stood right by the peas.
I think the one successful show I did go to, I think like the Horror Pops played there with Necromantics, and I think I was there for like a little bit of it. And then after the show, like, it's so weird because they'll end the show and then they get off the stage and then you're just like in the same space because there's
buy things. I'll cattle prodding all of you.
Our record's over there. They also started a really good video series on the website called What's in My Bag. Have you ever seen these?
No.
They ask popular musicians about what are their gets, like when they go to Amoeba, what's in their bag, what are you buying? So you get to hear from people like Alice Baggs, Slick Rick, Kid Koala, Shannon Shaw, Ice Cube, Fred Armisen, Chris Novoselic from Nirvana, Moby, The Zombies, Elvira. They all have these episodes.
What was Wes Anderson buying?
Once. He was just buying Paul Thomas Anderson movies because he's like, who is this guy?
They also, I don't know if you mentioned this, they have a online blog sort of thing that like, it's like a history blog. Like I've used them as research sometimes where they're pretty in-depth with like LA history for some reason.
I think I've crossed the path one time, but it was like music related, so I thought it was just music related.
No, they've done like, I mean, maybe they try to tie it into music, but there's certainly been articles about like oil, and I don't know why Amoeba is telling me about oil.
If they've started a podcast, they would probably be better than us.
Hell did you just say? Yeah, but they'd go bankrupt because not us
because we didn't start with money.
We're in the black. I think that's good.
According to the FBI that's listening to us on my webcam of my laptop, it's good. Yeah, so like there's this whole, you can watch one of your favorite musicians talk about being Amoeba and what they buy. You can listen to an album that was recorded at Amoeba, and then you go to Amoeba, and it's more than just a store at this point. It's like a communal experience. Like you're involved in the music scene if you go and shop at Amoeba. It's part of the LA music scene history now. So Amoeba Hollywood kicks traditional music chains right square in the ass. Hooray. All is well. No. The most negative effect Amoeba had was on the long-running independent record stores that populated LA. Like a friend of mine in high school, his dad had 2 record shops in Hollywood, and they hated Amoeba. One of them had to close, the other one's still open, but it's like less of a record shop now because they can't compete with Amoeba.
It's the same thing of, I can't believe Borders is closing.
Yeah.
The store that
closed
destroyed all of the other stores.
Yeah. I was thinking that because I had to go buy a book for a Christmas present. And I'm like, okay, there's no more big bookstores anymore. Not that
Barnes and Noble.
I'm not gonna go to Barnes and Noble.
You've fallen through the cracks. You're not digital. You're not specialized enough.
But because the small record shops we had in our area, places like Rockaway or Rhino or Aaron's or Tang or Headline, their whole essence of operation was offering hard to find records on a much smaller mom and pop scale. They couldn't compete with Amoeba. Plus, you also had Napster happening.
And that other company we can't remember the name of.
The death nail for so many small record shops that were barely hanging on after Amoeba moved to town. So Amoeba survived because it offered more than just records. It was a scene. It was a place to be seen. So Amoeba defied trends. Just thinking about Amoeba as in the totality, the first shop opened in 1990 when sales of vinyl records were dying. The second shop opened up in 1997, 2 years before file sharing software changed the music industry.
When disc sales were dying.
Exactly. Amoeba Hollywood opened right now. It has to survive through streaming music, and it's persisted, or has it? Mm-hmm. So after all of this needs to be said. If you've never been to Amoeba,
better go quick.
Better go quick, because this almost 20-year LA institution is set to be demolished, and in its wake will be yet another housing complex. The news comes as a huge blow to people who love Amoeba and are frankly tired of losing things we love to housing complexes, or my favorite Pandaria becoming a hipster bakery. Like, we're just tired of that happening. Tired of things becoming housing complex just to make room for people who come here in the Olympics who are not going to live here. They're just going to stay for a little bit. So everything's become an Airbnb, and we're going to lose a big chunk of our history because of this. Petitions were going around to block this move from happening to Amoeba, but it was stopped short by the owners of Amoeba, who sold the property in 2015 for $34 million to whatever GPI Companies is. Where Amoeba Music stands now, in years to come, will be a 28-story tower holding 232 residential units and 7,000...
Tower of records.
That housing complex is going to have like commercial street space, which is okay, great, but it's not going to be Amoeba. The city council even had to approve zoning changes to the block.
All new Arby's. Like 28-story Arby's.
The city council even had to approve zoning changes to make this switcheroo happen. And apparently, Amoeba is opening a new spot not too far from its current location, and nobody really knows where yet, and it's going to have a weed dispensary, so now I'm double annoyed. And since then, like, Echo Park and Silver Lake are now infested with small record shops that are, so there's no shortage of places that'll overcharge you.
Yeah.
But we've, again, are losing a big sense of history here.